If I can call this meeting to order. Good evening, folks. We have a few agendas that we're going to be looking at today. First off, we're going to be starting with our Committee of the Whole agenda. That will be dealing with all the reports that you have outlined on your pieces of paper at your seats. And that will be followed by our Council meeting, which most times ratifies what we discussed during committee. So with that, we're going to start off with a prayer from Councillor Bill Steele, and that will be followed by the National Anthem, led by Mr. Joe Longfellow. Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. Heavenly Father, source of all truth and wisdom, who knows and loves the whole creation, watch over our community, that truth may prevail over distortion, wisdom triumph over recklessness, and the concerns of every person be heard. Amen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons' command. Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée de plus brillant exploit. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Mr. Longfellow.
Mr. Badaway.
You know, it's my last meeting,
Yes,
and we spent a lot of time together here in the chamber.
we have.
It is my pleasure to offer you my not only congratulations for a job well done, but also most of all my appreciation.
Thank you, Mr.
You've done a lot here. You've led us, and thank God you've led us. Because if you actually got close to these guys and actually heard them sing, thank God you led us.
Well,
But my small token of our appreciation on behalf of
thank you,
council.
Mr. Mayor. It has been my distinct pleasure
Well-
over the years to serve you and this council.
Hopefully the new mayor is going to continue on with that tradition, but I'll leave that with him.
I think he already has.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. None this evening.
With none, if I can have a motion from council to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Bodner, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? With none, move on to the determination of items required for separate discussion. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Item 1.
Further items, members? With none, motion to accept the remainder of the items, please. Councillor Demery, Councillor Butters, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Before we move on to presentations, Councillor Doucette. Councillor Demery, would you like to go? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to ask council for leave to explore an idea that has come from the community. We have a community request from Noah, who is 11 years old and is sitting in the audience. I'd just like to ask for leave to explore the request and have Noah speak if necessary.
Thank you, Councillor Demery. If I can have a seconder for leave, please. Councillor Doucette, questions or comments to that motion? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. We have a new leader in our community that someday may wear these. Noah, if you want to come on up, and you're more than welcome to come on up to the podium. And if you want to just press the gray button there, and the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Okay. I was looking to build an ice rink for the city because I really enjoy skating. I think it'd be a lot of fun for everyone. The location's really good because there's a fire hydrant right there, and I was thinking maybe the firefighters could flood it for us. There's also washrooms, but we would need to open them. there's benches, and it's really big field. I was thinking maybe once we get our lumber, for the, I know there's Lake Shore is pretty close to the field. Maybe they could build the rink for us for their workshop. But other than that,
I think it's a great idea, Noah. Before you leave that podium, I'm going to ask members of council if they have any questions or comments. Councillor Demery, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Noah. Noah, first of all, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out to make this request on behalf of your friends and yourself, and to take the time to show us not only that you and others like you would like to have this, but to show us where to put it, how to do it, and how to resource it. It's really wonderful. It shows me that you are thinking through the whole problem, and you've done all our problem solving for us. So as a result of that, I would just like to ask that council support this, and that we have permission to use the Chestnut Park area, and have permission to have the fire department assist in the flooding. And beyond that, I will definitely commit to helping you find the resources to get the rest of it done.
Thank you, and I'll look at that as direction. Any more comments or questions from council? Councillor Doucette and Councillor Danch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Noah, you made my day last Wednesday when I went down to my mailbox and I found this. And I looked at it and I said, wow, a little one doing this? There is a petition in both envelopes. And I've just discovered today that the petition she's holding is, and the one I have 40 different names on each one of them. So that's a 2-page petition, essentially. And what he did is he worked on all of this, worked hard, and presented it to us. And all I can say is I will do whatever I can to make it happen. But we're going to follow your lead. You're the leader in this, so we're going to follow your lead. But we will do whatever we can as adults to support you and make sure that it happens for you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Danch.
Sometimes you wish you weren't in building supplies. Just because I believe in what you're doing, and I've tried building rinks over the years, and I've done a lot of rinks with a lot of dads, and I helped out a lot of kids, and I do it because I like it, and I know how to build a rink. But if you guys want to build a rink, I'll give you a roll of plastic that's 40 by 50. That's what they call rink poly. It's a special plastic. You might have some problems with the fire department with using a fire hydrant because there's more than you think involved there. But I'll give you guys a roll of plastic, 40 by 50. You can go find some crooked 2x6s somewhere else, and I'll show you how we've done it over the years. And if Mother Nature's kind enough to use, you guys might have a great rink for several months. So I'll do that for you, okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, any further questions or comments? With none, so we do have some direction for staff to follow up on. And I think there's going to be some particulars that we're going to have to work on with respect to the park, the areas of where it would go, and of course working with the fire department and others. But I'll let Mr. Ohio look after that. But I think the main direction that you're proposing today, Councillor Demeray, is to move forward with this. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing I would like to ask, and I know that this is putting a lot of burden on staff, but is that we can get this done really quickly, because I'd love to see this, if Mother Nature cooperates, I'd like to see this available for the kids to use on Christmas holidays. I think it would be just a great thing to have, and for families to be able to have that thermos full of hot chocolate outing with their kids.
Great. Thank you. Noah, great job.
Thank you
Great
so
job
much.
to you, to all those that are supporting you this evening. Be proud, guys. Parents, who's the parents? Parents, where are they? There you go. Be proud, guys. But I do want you to have a takeaway here tonight. Besides what you were obviously here for, and of course won that battle, I have to tell you a little story. Way back, people ask me to this day, especially people your age, why I got involved with what I got involved in with respect to politics, and why eventually I'm sitting in this chair. And it was because a lot of folks like to give opinions, and regardless of what they might be speaking about, and different issues and things like that. And my grandfather, my father, and a lady by the name of Rose Szymanski, and some folks remember Rosie because she used to sit around his horseshoe too, along with my father, said one thing to me. They said to me, don't complain about it. Don't dream about it. Go out and do something about it. And that's how I got involved and ended up around this horseshoe and one day wearing these chains. Well, you're following that same track. You're both dreaming about it. You're not complaining about it. You're actually doing something about it. You've put a team together along with your parents, your family, your friends, your school. You've come here as a leader. You proposed something to city council. You've not only proposed it, but you spoke about it. You gave credibility to it. And now you've got the support from council, and it's going to get done. Good on you. Well done. Good
Thank
job.
you.
I have to say I think about 1999, I said that to a fellow and really encouraged him to get involved. And he did, and he just beat me in an election. So with that, I'm now going to move on to presentations. We have 2 presentations, and that's going to be followed by a delegation. And I'll do them from the podium. I have to say, tonight is going to be, you're going to hear a lot of thank yous tonight. And I think it's going to be the theme of the evening is thank you to the youngsters and our future leaders. And thank you to our current leaders and as well the next generation of leaders that are going to be adorning our chamber here. But also, probably most importantly, is those that are within our community that don't do it to get elected. They don't do it for money. They don't do it for headlines. They, in fact, do many things, volunteering and contributing just simply because they care and because they want to. And it's my pleasure tonight to introduce you to one of those folks, someone who's no stranger to this community, whatever capacity, because, and I have to digress for a second, because this individual, although we're recognizing him for one initiative, he's been involved in so many throughout the years, whether it be Crime Stoppers, whether it be simply volunteering for different events, festivals, issues, getting involved. Once again, a person that truly cares and, quite frankly, makes a difference in our community. Tonight, I would like to introduce you to someone who is making a difference right here in Niagara, as well as abroad in Cuba. This someone is Mr. Aubrey Foley. And if I can call Aubrey up here. Aubrey, come on up. I've known Aubrey for many, many years. And Aubrey is not only someone that but all of us call a friend. And quite frankly, you recognize early on that Aubrey just simply can't sit still. Upon retiring from John Deere, Aubrey needed something to do and got involved in many different things throughout the communities, not just Port Colborne, but across the region. But one thing in particular was, and if you know Aubrey at all, he loves tinkering with things. And he loves tinkering with bicycles. And he heard that there were many families in Cuba who needed bicycles to get around to do their daily chores, go to school, do their work, and took an interest in it. Aubrey then turned his garage into his workshop. When I was campaigning, I went to his house. I couldn't believe it. It's more like a bike shop. But he turned it into a workshop where you can find him most days fixing 4 to 5 bikes a day, preparing them to be shipped off to Cuba. He started by encouraging tourists who were going to Cuba to stop by and pick up a bike, already in a box, for airline shipping, take the bike to Cuba, use it to tour around for themselves, and then leave it with a family who, in fact, would need that bicycle. Aubrey then met John Dubois, who runs the Dubois Charitable Foundation. Aubrey then started working with Mr. Dubois, with his foundation, to do more within Cuba. So I'm not going to go on here, guys, because he knows better than I do. So I'm going to have Aubrey come on up here and really plug what he's in fact doing. So hopefully he can do more of it. I don't know, Becky, you think he can handle a bit more of it? But I'm going to let Aubrey tell you a bit about what he's doing. Aubrey, come on up.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Very briefly, I met this gentleman, John Dubois, and he runs John Dubois Charitable Foundation out of Princeton, a little village outside of Brantford. If you get a chance, look him up on the internet. He's been doing this now for 11 years. He's more than likely one of the most giving people I've ever met in my life, one of the few that really makes a difference here across Canada. He himself coordinates, loads, transports, and moves 6 to 8 shipping containers from Halifax to Cuba, some to Haiti, and some to South Africa. I had the luxury of being in his presence at his house with my wife a few weeks ago, and I couldn't believe it, but John Dubois on that day had just finished the preparation for 74 dialysis machines, which he collected across Ontario with help through Ottawa and the Cuban consulate. He had them recalibrated in London, Ontario. He had them loaded in a container, and they're leaving for Havana the following day off a ship from Halifax. These will go to many medical centers across Cuba where people, no different than here in our country, have a great need for our dialysis machines, and he's going to save lives. He ships clothing, medical supplies, and different other items for people in various stages of, for walkers and wheelchairs and so on. He's dedicated. He's in his late 70s. This guy works tirelessly. My wife's here. She has some nice photos if you want to have a look after. He works till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, 6-7 days a week. It's hard to believe unless you go to his house. He's got a 10-acre property, 3 warehouses, 2 lift trucks, and energy that I can't even get close to. And this guy makes a difference. He makes a difference. He has all kinds of documentation and photos of young children like this here receiving their very, very first set of blue jeans, first pair of running shoes, a bicycle for the first time in their life. And when I found out about what he was doing and I realized how important it was, the one most important thing that I recognized right away is that the question among many people is, how do we know they're getting to where they should go? Well, here's what this gentleman does. The sea container leaves Halifax. It arrives in Havana. 3 days later, after it's cleared Havana Customs, John Dubois, with 3 members of volunteer charitable people like myself, they meet the container, and every item out of that container, every item on that list, they help deliver it to all the villages through whatever part of Cuba they've designated, hand deliver it one for one, person to person, and then here's the most remarkable part. He returns 4 months later and follows the same journey to the same houses, to the same people, and verifies they have the items. That is credibility beyond anything I can imagine, and he pays for this out of his pocket. I've only been involved with him for 1 year. I've just completed a little over 300 bicycles. Some have gone to Cuba, many have gone into this community where we live. Part of the program I have for children we have here tonight, this is for any child in Port Colborne, any family in Port Colborne. If your child is growing and following the normal growth cycle, they need another bicycle, you come and see me. There's no money exchange. You drop your set of wheels, I'll give you a bigger set of wheels. Take it home and enjoy it.
Do that with cars too?
That may be next. Another part that we cover here in Port Colborne, we're very fortunate in this great community that we live in. We have many group homes. And the clients of these group homes also receive any bicycle repairs they need free of charge at any time, any day of the week. All they have to do is arrive at my place. I ask them just to bring the parts. The rest of it's all taken care of. Anyone in this room here tonight, if you know of any family here in Port Colborne, I currently have 57 bicycles on standby waiting for a home. You know a child that needs a bicycle? There's no questions asked. Send them over, they'll have a bicycle. I'll take care of that. And just in closing, bicycles for us, we take for granted. In Cuba, we have some photos here with us tonight. You can see my wife after. To see a 57-year-old person with their first bicycle in their life standing on a beach crying is something that makes your heart just stop and really understand how fortunate we are here where we live today in this beautiful country. Many of the people that we send bikes to, they've never had a bicycle before. It would be the same as us getting a brand new vehicle. It's their transportation, as our mayor alluded to. This is how they travel. And we have the most heartwarming story of a 9-year-old girl took very ill, and a bicycle we sent down a few months ago. And during the night, they couldn't get a taxi because of the remote area they're in. They couldn't get a cart with a donkey, which they use for transportation. The father of the young lady that was so sick and 2 friends held her on a bicycle that we sent down. They took her in the darkness of night over 2 miles and got her to a medical center and got her in the hospital. And we have a photo at home of her in a hospital bed. And he feels that attributed to saving her life because she had severe respiratory problems at that time. That's how important a bicycle is in that area. So for anyone here or anyone that has contacts, here's the deal. If you've got an old bicycle you don't need, and if you think it's junk, give me one chance to try and revitalize that bike. I have all kinds of parts, and I have all kinds of patience, and I will get it back on the road again. Please don't just put it out to the curb. There's nothing wrong with recycling it and getting it through scrap. That's a good thing too. But scrap only brings in about 10 cents a pound, or otherwise about $2.70 for a bicycle. I'd much rather have that bicycle. I'll put new tires, chains, cables, and I'll give that to somebody, child or an adult, that'll have great use out of it and last for a long time in the future. So that's what I would recommend we do. I have all kinds of room, again, to take more bikes. I had a neighbor generously give me their garage this winter. I just put 57 bicycles in it over the last few days. And I could use another 2 garages. But having said that, thank you so much for this, Mayor Vance. It's really not necessary. The recognition goes to everyone who's helped support me and give me bicycles and make this happen. So
Well,
thank you again.
You know, I have to say, when I walked in his garage a few weeks ago, yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was like bike parts everywhere. You know, when you told me you were doing this about, I don't know, 6 months ago, I thought, okay, it's 1 or 2 bikes, right? No, and then he shows me a picture of the bikes that he sent over. His entire driveway was full. I think there was like 60 bikes he sent over at one time. So just, you know, it's the least that we can do, is have you come out to a meeting and recognize what makes a community. And that's what makes a community. Your contributions, both inside as well as outside the community, that's what it's all about. And the very least we can do is to say thank you, and present you with this plaque. I know it's only a plaque, but I think it's the thought that goes into the plaque that we want to extend to you. And just for you folks, it's presented to Aubrey Foley in recognition of your work with Bikes for Cuba. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to enriching the lives of families in Cuba and the Niagara region. Your efforts will continue to inspire well into the future. Signed by myself, on behalf of members of council, but most importantly, on behalf of the residents of Port Colborne.
Thank you
Aubrey,
so much.
well done. We are now going to take this opportunity, members of council, to recognize you. Pardon me? Just want to do the, yeah, you guys are probably sitting here and you, yeah. You got a hockey game to get to? Do you, Dave? Basketball for you, hockey for you? That'll be fine. If I can have leave for council, moved by Councillor Steele, seconded by Councillor Kenny. Members of council, any questions or comments to that? This is the first time I actually conducted a meeting from the podium. Hey, last meeting, always a first for everything, right? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Folks, if you want to come on up, you're more than welcome. Sandy, do you want to lead us off? No? You're good? We're going to have you lead us off. The podium is all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Snezh Popov, and I'm a senior manager with CIBC Commercial Banking, and this is my colleague David Johnson. He's the branch manager of the Port Colborne branch. At CIBC, we are committed to causes that matter to our clients, employees, and to our communities. With a focus on kids, cures, and community, our goal is to make a difference through corporate donations, sponsorships, and the volunteer spirit of our employees. And I have to say, I am more honored after hearing Noah's and Aubrey's stories to be up here and to share our news with you. The residents of Port Colborne are very fortunate to have such a great center within the community, and we are very pleased to provide our support. I would like to invite Mayor Vance Badaway, who is here, and Director of Corporate and Community Services, Peter Siness. We would like to present this check. No, you cannot cash this one. For the Valley Health and Wellness Center in the amount of $75,000. Oh my goodness.
You guys want to get a picture before I say something here, so.
Of course. I don't always have a $75,000 check in my pocket, so I don't mind.
Come on up here. Heidi, do you want to get one over here? Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. I just want to, wow. When Sandy told me there was going to be a contribution from CIBC, I didn't realize it was going to be 75,000. I thought it was less than that. No, I thought it was, actually for some reason I had 35,000, and I even thought that was a lot, but I shouldn't tell you that. but 75,000, very generous. As I said when Aubrey was up here and when Noah was speaking, you know, that's what makes community. That's what it's all about, you know, putting what we do here every second or third Monday, and as well as at other levels of politics and all the stuff that goes along with that. It's all about community. And the contribution that you're making this evening, the contribution that Noah's making this evening, the contribution that Aubrey continues to make, it just goes without saying that that's what drives community spirit. And you guys are just certifying that this evening. So to you and to your organization, to all those that work here at the Port Colborne branch, all those that work within CIBC's team, thank you. Thank you very much. Members of Council, I'm going to, being the last meeting, take this opportunity to recognize existing and, for the most part, future city councilors here in the city of Port Colborne. We do have your pictures, your council pictures from last term. I'm hearing now that Bob wants to get you your pictures for the next term before the term actually ends versus at the end of the term. However, I did want to take this opportunity to essentially say to each and every one of you, thank you for your contributions, not only within the table here, the horseshoe here, but equally as important in the community, because I know how hard each and every one of you work with respect to contributing your efforts and time to the community. So I do want to start off with Barbara Butters. Councillor Butters. There's your photo. You look pretty good there too. But you know, to Barb, thank you, Barb. You and I have sat on council for quite some time together. You've really championed a lot of issues, in particular the issues with the North Shore. That's something that's near and dear to your heart. Of course, Bethel, Sherkston Community Center. I always get the potluck invitations from her and Kathy. I always know what's going on at Sherkston because of these two, but keep it going, and I'm sure I'm going to be reading and hearing a lot of good things about you in the next term of council. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. Thanks so much. Oops, I'm caught on your thing.
Are you caught on my chain?
On your chain.
That's
yes,
all right.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks.
Next is Ron Bodner. Councillor Bodner. I have to say, you know, these two, Ron and Barb, it's obviously near and dear to my heart because when I started in 1994, Ward 4 was my ward. And I know the issues out there are somewhat unique compared to the other 3 wards, but to Ron and to Barb, and particularly Ron, you know, throughout the past many years as a councillor, as a former mayor, sometimes I think even current mayor, because he does give me the kick once in a while, but now, again, back in Ward 4, you know, the things that you've taken on, and they're endless, that you should be proud of. And there's no question that for myself, members of council, the community, again, thank you. Keep her going.
Thank you, Mr.
Well
Mayor.
done. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Quite frankly, Ron has always been known as the mayor of Gasline, even before he got on council. If I could now call upon B. Kenny. Now, B we often refer to as the pit bull on council, because once, and if you don't know this, once she gets her teeth into something, and I've felt it, believe me.
The look.
The look, she doesn't let go. So needless to say, and John, you're going to realize that. She's going to give you that look every once in a while. Just do what she says. It's the easiest way. But to be, a lot of the issues that you've involved yourself in, especially with the healthcare issues, with being chair as the, on the health and wellness, as well as the physician recruitment committee, job well done. We look forward to bigger and better things from you, and keep her going.
Thank you.
Thanks, B.
Thanks. Do we get to talk about you now, or do we have to wait?
No. Tonight, it's not about me, it's about you guys. So let's keep it that way, okay? Councillor Danch. Councillor Danch, the only one that comes with a hockey stick to the council meetings. And swings it. Frankie, you know, rookie year, or rookie term?
All good.
Great job, man.
Thank
You know, you did good, and once again, as I said to the other ones, we're looking forward to bigger and better things from you.
Well, I'll be putting this picture behind my desk in my office, and you'll be watching over me somewhat.
Oh, believe me, I got more time on my hands. I'll be doing more than that. I may show up now for those Monday night football games. 2 of them are on tonight. Councillor Desmarais. Ange, another rookie term. Yes. And back for another one. Thank you. You know, here's a woman, for all you folks that are watching on COGECO, here's a woman that involved herself even before she got on council for many, many years with the East Village, and really bringing out the interests of the East Village, and of course, in her capacity now as councillor, doing the same thing. And just keep up the great work ethic that you've established here. And like I said, a lot of the attention that the East Village deserves, keep that up as well, because they do deserve it, and hopefully the next council will carry on with what you're trying to lead over there, and basically getting the job done over there. So, well done.
Thank you, Vince.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Doucette. Yvonne and I sat on council since what? Yvonne, since 1994? I think you sat on council with my dad too, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Poor you. But no, since 1990. But Yvonne, he's the veteran on council. I think you were off for a couple of years and you came back.
I was off for a couple of years
Yeah.
for medical reasons,
Yeah,
and then
they
I
came
came back.
But Yvonne, more involved with the children, involved with the youth council, and of course was my liaison on our youth council, which was near and dear to my heart. And I do want to express my appreciation for working with them. The skate park was a perfect example of part of the legacy that you're going to leave, but also to empower, as we've seen tonight, the youth to be our future leaders. So good on you, great work, and we look forward to the next.
Thank you very
council.
much. Thank you.
Councillor Elliott. Now here's a fellow, and for those of you that are watching out in COGECO, may recognize that Dave's term last term was a rookie term, but you would have never known it. He jumped in with both feet, got involved, very astute, especially when it comes to the financial issues, and really took the bull by the horns, asked the tough questions, really stuck to the issues, didn't let things go, really worked hard. And Dave, you know, if there's one person that I'm really happy that's returning to this council, although all of you I'm happy are returning, it's you, because I know you bring a lot to the table. You bring a lot of due diligence to the table. You bring a lot of smarts to the table. And for the most part, looking forward to a lot of bigger and better things for you in the future. Well done.
Thanks.
Good job.
Appreciate that.
Great job.
Thanks.
And he always has that smart crack, too. And lastly, if I can call up Councillor Bill Steele. Now, Bill. I have to say, it is a pleasure. It's actually a privilege to be here on your behalf, as well as those out in the community on their behalf, to express to Bill our appreciation for his time here on City Council from 1998 to 2014. And I have to say as well, Bill has involved himself in everything, whether it be contentious or not. Bill jumped in with both feet, and quite frankly, whether you liked it or not, you always knew where he stood. And that is something that always has to be respected. Again, whether you liked it or not, you always knew where Bill stood. Bill stood on an issue. And for the most part, that's what it's all about when you're in elected office, is to be very upfront with folks and to ensure that they understand where you're coming from. And of course, Bill took that time to speak to those, whether from your business, whether from your home, or here at City Hall. He's done that. So it's my pleasure to present to Bill his picture and as well as a plaque. And there's a lot more that goes behind this personally with Bill, because Bill and I worked very, very tirelessly on a lot of projects, especially the one that we're going to walk away being most proud of, that being the Valley Health and Wellness Center. Bill was the chair, and that wasn't by accident. He was somewhat handpicked, and thank God the committee supported me, to take that on because of his involvement, his knowledge, as well as his passion to ensure that it got followed through on. So, Bill, there's no question that it is a privilege, it's an honor for me, and it's with a great deal of pride that I take this opportunity to present to you in our appreciation as City Councillor today, Ward 1, from 1998 to 2014, on behalf of members of City Council, staff, most importantly, the citizens of the City of Port Colborne. We would like to thank you for your years of service and dedication to our community as a member of Port Colborne City Council, and I can extend to that committees, boards, commissions, agencies, and leadership on a lot of issues. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And the floor is yours.
Let me set this up there. And
Sure,
I'll
go ahead.
grab my words. I'll be right back.
Thanks, buddy.
You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life. Winston Churchill. Mayor Vance, my fellow councilors, staff members, members of the gallery. 17 years ago, I was given the privilege to serve the constituents of Ward 1 and all citizens of Port Colborne. Before I reflect on those 17 years, I first want to thank the following people. Now, you got to understand, for 17 years, I missed a lot of things. Tonight, my wife, Debbie, my sons, Mitch and Riley. Debbie's working. She's a nurse at Welland Hospital. Mitchell's coaching hockey, coaches our novice travel team, and Riley's timekeeping the game, so they're not here. My middle son, Mackenzie, he's here, so I thank him for coming out tonight. All four have given their most heartfelt support during my time as councillor, and as I said, lots of things you miss. You know, when I first started, I only had 2 boys. Found time to have 3. So, but you do miss a lot, and they understood why. It's what I wanted, and they knew what they were getting into, and they, you know, when my wife married me, and then when we had the kids, we explained it to them. So I really thank them from the bottom of my heart for that. He said to me, "Don't cry." I'm not gonna cry. My mom and dad, my father just turned 97. So, yeah, it is tough. Although they've never been able to vote for me, because they've always lived in Ward 3, B, Frank, okay? You can thank me for being able to sit there. But the, you know, the encouragement and great advice, especially from my father over, I don't think I'm gonna need that. At least I hope anyways. Yeah, no, but the great advice, you know, my dad, a lot of times, especially early in sitting at this table and some of the things that went on, you know, I always stopped by my dad's place and just shot the breeze with him. And I won't say a few things that he said because I really can't. I'm sure a few of you have heard it at a few parties we've had, but you know, he did. He gave me great wisdom, and you know, I think he got that from his father and my great grandfather who sat as mayor, and also the Reeve of Welland County way back in the 20s and 30s. So you know, there are good lines in my family as far as politicians go. My father was always a politician, though, that never really ran for anything, but he was hugely involved in politics in Port Colborne, provincially and federally, as John would know. My wife's parents, Deb's parents, Bill and Sue. Bill campaigned with me every election, walking the streets of Ward 1, speaking to voters, getting lawn signs and convincing those at the door that they should support me. He almost lost me one election during a school teacher strike. I never said a thing, and then my father-in-law opens his mouth. You know, what can you do? My Aunt Olive, my mother's sister, whose presence during each campaign did bring a calm over me. And I really thank her for all the things that she's done for me through my 17 years here. To staff, both past and present, thank you. Thank you for your time in helping our citizens with their concerns or problems. Thank you for your dedication to making Port Colborne a great place to live, raise a family, and operate a business. It has truly been an honor working with all of you. To all the people I sat on boards and commissions with, all volunteers that sat with our staff and my fellow councilors, great people. We have a huge, huge array of great volunteers in this community, whether it's events, our committees and boards. These people bring great thought and great things to each of these. And you know, this past term I sat on the Hydro Board, the Committee of Adjustment, the Library Board, and our Disabilities Committee. Great people. You know, and we lost one of those fellows recently. It was fantastic, and more of that's going to come out later based on Hydro. But that, you know, it's people like those people that really make this town, this city, a great place. I have been suffering from a cold. So it's really my cold is my voice. So I do apologize because this thing's been killing me for 2 weeks. So just please bear with me. Vance, you've served this city beyond expectations. You truly want to see the best for Port Colborne, and I believe you have achieved more than anyone can ask of their mayor. Thank you. Fellow councilors, my friends. Ron and Barb, who started with me back in 1997 in the campaign, as Vance said earlier, we served the term 98 and on. It's truly been a great ride. You too. It's been great. Been a lot of fun over those times. Bea and Yvonne, who were here before me, thank you for your direction and your professional approach to what it is to be a city councilor here in Port Colborne. Thank you. Angie, Frank, and Dave, now, you got 4 years under your belt. You're no longer the rookies. Okay? Yeah. Don't change anything in the way you approach this job. You bring great perspective to the table. Debates are great. Whatever you throw into the middle during conversations, committees, whether it's committee, council, or committees in that back room. You guys are great. It's good to see people of your ilk here at City Council. It truly is. You guys, you know, you're not all the same. You bring different perspectives, which is what the city needs. You know, you can't just have 9 people with the same thought all the time. You know, whether it goes your way or not, because we all know things have gone our way and haven't gone our way, but you get it on the floor. That's what's great. To our new mayor, John Maloney, and Ward 1 Councillor John Main, congratulations. You got 7 of the greatest people you're going to work with in the next 4 years. Please look forward to it. You guys are going to do a good job. I know that. I know both of you for a long time. You guys are going to be great at it. So you're not going to be the same, and that's great. Always good to have a different voice up here. And over my 17 years, we've seen a lot of good people come and go on council. So look forward to a lot of paperwork and your little computer that's always beeping, telling you something's going on or something's coming in, and you got to read it. The never-ending emails from the federal government, the provincial government, the region, all kinds of boards, commissions, companies, everything out there. They're all there. FCM, AMO. Believe me, you'll be overwhelmed with this at least the first year. I know, John, the federal level, I think we get 10 times what you guys would ever have gotten. It's because we get everybody, you know. We're here, everybody else is above us, and it just filters down, and, you know, we are the grassroots level. So you guys are, but you guys are in good hands, especially with these people here and everybody that serves in this building, in our parks yard and our works department, library, museum, every valet center, everywhere in this community. You guys are in good hands. To all those that put their names forward during the last election, you showed courage and a strong compassion for your community. Thank you. To my family and friends who helped me campaign, to the voters of Ward 1, a big thank you. It truly has been a wonderful 17 years seeing the city change, and I do see the future looks very bright for the little city that can. Just a couple other people, you know, they're not here this evening, but guys like Gary Bruno that served with me for a lot of years. When I first got on, Jack Roy, great mentor, 2 great mentors. Jerry Grayway used to be my neighbor. Actually, he and I spoke before I ran the first time after he left. And, you know, I always talked politics with Jerry. You know, he'd have all these, what they used to call budget parties over at his house, and they'd all be in the backyard cocktailing it and everything else. We never did that. I don't know. Those guys must have been more fun than us. But, you know, you talk to Jerry, and then you get thinking, and as Vance said earlier, you know, don't sit back and bitch and complain about things. You know, be like this little guy that sat here this evening, who happens to be a good minor hockey player in Port Colborne, who I saw on the weekend and watched him play. You know, stand up, get up, run for something, sit here, stand here, sit here, bring your thoughts forward, call a counselor, call staff, bring stuff forward. I mean, that's what it really is all about. And, you know, that's what Jerry set me on, kind of a path when I ran back then. So, you know, I thank those guys. And, you know, Jerry's not with us anymore, but great counselor for the city of Port Colborne. Just to go over a few highlights, you know, I'd like to mention them. Valet, you know, that was one of the reasons I ran. And we didn't know it was going to be valet at that time, but it was the new community center. Somebody that's been involved in sports in Port Colborne, and my kids used the pool. I learned how to swim in the pool, played hockey in the arenas, coached in the arenas, been a member of the Port Colborne Minor Hockey Executive. You know, they were tired. It was time to change. I remember getting back to guys like Tommy Lannon, who used to sit here. You know, it was back in the late 80s, we tried to lead a charge to, at that time, twin the West Side Arena and get rid of the East Side Arena, and, you know, bring everything together. But, you know, it really snowballed from there, and we had great people on that committee, and this is what I want to talk about. Just this past Saturday, a fellow and I were talking at the Valet Complex. Nothing in particular, lives in general. We said our goodbyes, and he went on his way. A few minutes later, he came back, excused himself as I was speaking with some minor hockey people. He held out his hand to shake mine and said thank you for a wonderful building. So we got talking about it, and he was explaining to me that his son and his son's family were here in the summer, first time back since the Valet's been built. He brought them over there. They couldn't believe what Port Colborne had. He said, I just can't believe the city of Port Colborne, 19,000 people, has this facility. He goes, you know, I'm in the GTA, and You know, although we have a lot of facilities, nothing where it's a one-stop shop, where everything is there that they can come and do everything with their kids and their families and friends. So we got chatting about that for a while, and you know, basically he looked at me and he said, you know, when my son left, he said, you know, Dad, you're very lucky to live in Port Colborne. And I truly believe that facility, said I wouldn't do this, kid, is going to be a backbone of this community as it goes along. You know, times are going to change for this region. I think there's some, you know, there's some wind coming down that you're going to see bigger and bigger things happen down here. You know, whether it's the GO train and things like that, I think housing and people moving this way, everything else is getting filled up and they're busy. I think people want to get rid of these busy lives that they have. They come to a great town like Port Colborne. Not that we want to be big like Toronto or anything like that. We're not going to be, but you know, another 10,000 people in this town would be the cat's ass. Excuse me, cat's meow as far as I'm concerned. You know, but that facility is, you know, we run hockey tournaments. You know, my youngest son is involved in basketball. He's always played basketball as a fun time, but this year he finally joined Port Colborne Minor Basketball. And, you know, just new people out of town, people come in, they just can't believe valet. They just can't believe it. You know, I'm just, you know, it's just great to have, and you know, just we are so lucky with it. You know, that is again the reason why I was here. Just some other things. The new fire hall. When I started, used to look out the window here at this little tiny building that they'd shuffle trucks around, and you'd always say, you know, how the heck do these guys actually clean a vehicle? You know, I know what it's like cleaning mine in my truck in my garage or my driveway at home, yet these guys got to clean these big, huge machines. And you know, so the council of the day said, look, you know, it's about time we build a new one. So we had the foresight. We closed 2 fire halls, obviously the one downtown and the one on Bell Street. We merged everything into one. We kept Bell Street. The volunteers have that now. It's used for emergency purposes. You know, Bethel was closed a few years before that. The sky didn't fall. The city didn't burn down. And I think we got one of the greatest fire departments in Niagara, if not Ontario. You know, that was a huge highlight at the time for this council. You know, after building this building, the controversy there, but you know, there's a project that went through. There was never anybody sitting here saying, don't do it, or you're spending too much money. It went. I think the firemen did a great job on that, on getting the word out on that. West Street Promenade, east-west trails, north-south trail in through to Dane City into Welland. Infrastructure, the amount of infrastructure that's been done, you know, has really started big time, and we spoke about this a few meetings back. Back in the 80s, they finally took the bull by the horn. You know, I always thought it's sad that when we did the street out here, it was sewers that my great-grandfather put in the 20s. I mean, that's pretty sad for a community that you're, you know, in the 2000s, you're putting in new infrastructure that'd been there, that anybody used it, been long dead. You know, so taking that bull by the horn and finally getting it done, and staff putting a plan together and going through with council on, you know, here's our plan, this is what we want to do, this is how we project it can be done. You know, we can borrow the money to pay for this. When it's paid off, then we can jump over to this, and without affecting taxes and, you know, killing our taxpayer. You know, there's only one taxpayer, you know, whether it's federal, provincial, or region or here. You know, their wallets are only so big. So for us to work hard, and staff, and you, Peter, putting those numbers together and allowing us the opportunity to get things done, you know, and that's the biggest thing, is when you sit up here, you really want to get things done. You know, and I think we've, you know, by the things I look at, I think we've done a lot. We've done a great job leveraging our money, our hydro money, into 16,000 and change, and putting in over 60,000 or $60 million in projects. You know, going to upper tiers, whether it be with the region when we partnered on Main Street, and the federal and the province with Valet Center and the big water line that went in over here on Catherine Street. You know, these are huge things for Port Colborne. You know, you may not see the stuff on the ground. It's not sexy. It's not the valet. It's not a new bridge or a new fire hall. But boy, oh boy, those are the things that really cost you a lot of money. You know, and we heard not long ago about, you know, water and sewer, and, you know, the scare tactics of everybody, oh my God, we're, you know, such bad shape. You know, we're not. For a community this size, we're in a great shape, you know, and not just this council, but past councils going back a long time. have left it that way. Everybody took it and looked at these projects and said, let's get them done. Council slowly did it. It's not an easy process. We just don't have a pit full of money that we can throw at water and sewer. We've worked on it. We've lowered our water losses. We've fixed the infiltration into our sewer systems. And it's ongoing. Every week we're doing it, and staff looks after that. That's why we're lucky we have them. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. Winston Churchill. Thank you.
Now, please call Bob Heil.
One thing that I was, I guess, very pleased to be able to do is to speak to this next presentation. Mayor Vance elected not to run for mayor, and he leaves behind a tremendous legacy as mayor, something that in my 7 years here, that I've seen that is unparalleled by any other mayor that I've worked for in the past 40 years. I'm going to tell you, he's dedicated, devoted, eats, sleeps, breathes Port Colborne. Even back behind the scenes, and you've heard other councillors or mayors that I've had in the 40 years that might say something that might not be, maybe there's something that's an issue that isn't municipally focused. Let me tell you very clearly that there was never, ever an occasion, never a word, which wasn't in support of or in promotion of this city. I really am in awe for the number of years. I've had the pleasure of working with Vance now for almost 7 years. He's been here for 17 years, 3 as a councillor in Ward 4, as you mentioned, and 14 as mayor and regional councillor. In the most recent 4 years, Mayor Badaway has sat as a member of 11 committees of City Council, 13 regional council committees, and personally as chairman to the Niagara Sports Commission. He worked continuously behind the scenes to build a strong team here at City Hall and support. You people have no idea, well, maybe you do, how much he supported you back behind in his office. Almost to a fault. And he tried to keep his nose out of administration. He didn't do a bad job. Yeah. I respect you very much, Vance. As I said, in 40 years, I've not had a mayor as devoted as you that I've worked for. He worked as council, oversaw the building of City Hall, Central Fire Hall, the Valley Health and Wellness Center, worked towards a new operations center, which hopefully be another major investment. And I've got a couple presentations for you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to start, I guess, with this mark. I'll give you a picture. Vance M. Badaway, City Councilor, Ward 4, 1995 to 1997, Mayor, 1993, 2003, and 2006 to 2014. On behalf of members of City Council, staff, and all the citizens of the City of Port Colborne, we'd like to thank you for your years of active and dedication to our community. As a member of Port Colborne City Council, Mr. Mayor, an absolute pleasure, I'll tell you. Appreciate it. An honor.
Thank you.
And you get a picture? That's you in the middle?
Is it?
And I have another one that we're going to give you. I know You didn't know about this one.
No, I didn't.
This is
That's a big picture.
another one, Mr. Mayor, that we thought necessary, and we consulted with the new mayor, and he, without question, said, yes, this is for you.
Picture of the CAO.
It's a good picture.
Both you guys, there's a story behind this, guys. There's a story behind this. I'm trying, okay?
Kid at Christmas.
There's a story behind this. This picture sits in my office. And I often, whether I'm talking to people or I'm just sitting in my office at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night thinking about something, I look at this picture. And it gives me basically, obviously, a bird's eye view of the city, but there's always an idea that pops in your head depending on where you're looking at. So again, it's near and dear to my heart. Thank you very much. And thank you, members of council. Thank you to the new mayor, because quite frankly, there's just been times where I've looked at this picture for minutes, if not half hour, hours, and just thought. And now that I can have it close by, whether it be in my office or at my home, I can continue on doing that. So John, you might get a few phone calls about some ideas I have. Thank you, Bob.
All right. You're all set.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
There.
I appreciate it. Well, this is the second time I've had to do this. Back in 2003, I had to do the same thing. And I have to admit, it does become easier to say goodbye because, simply put, it's like family. You know, and when you put the time in and you work with folks, regardless of who they may be or what capacity they may be working in, it becomes family, it becomes friendship. But I have to say, like I said earlier, in 2 words, and I said this at the region when I was leaving there just the other week, and I'll say it here, in 2 words, it's very simple, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for 17 wonderful years. It's been a great ride, and the privilege that I've had and the honor that I've had is doing a job that I absolutely love to do. Just absolutely love to do. And it will be a job that I will always, always cherish with very fond memories. And those memories aren't just about what we did, but quite frankly, more importantly, it's how we did it. We did it together. We did it as a council. We did it as a team with staff. And in the broader picture, we did it as a community. So whether it be the bigger, as Bill said, the sexier projects like Valley or the skateboard park or the Ops Center or the fire hall or even here City Hall, that's nice. The water sewer, which I know, Ron, is the top of the priority, right? But yes, those are the things that you can touch, feel, see, and of course experience, but it's also the how. And that's probably most important. That is most important, not probably, it is most important. As we work together as a community to accomplish a lot. And like Bill said, we are the small community that can. And that is known, if not region, provincial, nationally, but worldwide. I hear it a lot. I want to thank the residents of the city of Port Colborne, and as well throughout the Niagara region for allowing me the opportunity to represent you. There's no doubt it was truly, truly a privilege. I want to thank our team here at City Hall, throughout our organization here, not only here at City Hall, but at the arenas, at the yard, at the museum, at the library, at the region, including all the ABCs, the agencies, boards, and commissions. It was truly an honor to work with each and every one of you, regardless of position. I always said, not too concerned about how many zeros are at the end of the check, what kind of vehicles anybody drives to work, always concerned about the passion, the dedication, and the commitment. And it's like we wrote on that board years ago. It's not the no, it's the how. And you guys have taken that and ran with it. And you should be extremely proud of that. You guys are the ones that make us look good. My picture doesn't end up in the front page without you guys. And again, regardless of what capacity you might hold, whether it's here at City Hall, whether it's down at the yard, whether it's at the museum, the library, or different facilities that we have, you guys have in fact done well, and you're continuing to do well. And I want to thank you for that. In particular to my ladies. Nancy, where is she? Bring it back there. Nancy, what can I say? You know, my right and left arm, sometimes even both my legs. You've just been great. And I can say, I met with John today, and I said to John, you know, there's the girl that's going to really be your foundation here at City Hall, and she's really going to be an enabler to you. And for the most part, Nancy, I can't say thank you enough for what you've done for me, but more importantly, by doing for me, doing for the community. So thank you. To my other ladies, Joanne Ferriccioli, who's not here tonight, she has some commitments back at home. Joanne is our healthcare guru. She's the one that, for the most part, when you listen to me talk about healthcare and you think I know what the heck I'm talking about, it's her. I just communicate. She's the one that gives me a lot of that substance, and she, again, was an enabler for me to be able to communicate with council, with the region, with the province, and sometimes even the federal levels of government to really get our message across in terms of what our needs are with respect to healthcare. To Carrie McIntosh, although Bob's assistant, Carrie's been a great help to my office as well, because I know a lot of times Nancy and Carrie are up here strategizing how they're going to deal with the mayor and the CAO. So I can't forget Carrie as well, because she's been a great part of my life here at City Hall. To Ashley, our city clerk, came into the organization as I believe a young 29-year-old. First time full-time job as a clerk, and has now blossomed to be I'll use the word, the power here at City Hall. The one that puts the hammer down for myself and council, and even the CAO sometimes on some occasions, to really ensure that we keep within the proper bylaws and of course the proper lines of communication, as well as ensuring that everyone stays on the straight and narrow with respect to municipal act, as well as the bylaws and laws of how we have to operate. Looking forward to bigger and better things from her. Maybe someday she'll be going from that side of the mayor's desk to that side of the mayor's desk when Bob someday wants to retire. But to Ashley, thank you as well. For those in the public that may not recognize, the mayor's office as well as council does a lot of work with the clerk's office. And with Ashley, as well as Annette and Brenda and those that work in your office, thank you for all you do. Sandy, I know she just left earlier. Is Sandy here? There she is. Sandy, thank you as well. I think for the most part, a lot of people underestimate the impact that Sandy makes in this community. Sandy's went through some tough times with health in the last couple of years, but she's bounced back with a vengeance. And you have really set a new standard for this community as it relates to community partnerships, ensuring that people not only participate, but also contribute, whether it be with their hands or with their wallets. So Sandy, you know, your work ethic is second to none, and thank you for everything that you've done as well. Once again, you've contributed a lot to this organization, and we're looking at that continuing, hopefully well into the future. To my colleagues, not only here in the chamber, regionally, to some extent worldwide. I've had the privilege of working with people in many different capacities, and I do want to thank them as well for working with myself and members of council and our organization on behalf of the city of Port Colborne. Members of council, I do want to take this opportunity to thank both past and present members of council. I have to say, and I said this often to my colleagues down at the region, other mayors, I've been blessed. I see other councils and the challenges that those mayors have with their councils. I won't mention any names, but or any cities or towns or townships, but I think we all know who they are. But there are some that have been challenged, and I have to say I've been blessed. I've had great councils: 1997 council, 2000, 2006, 2010. Just been blessed with workers, people that take an interest in certain issues and really run with it. And of course, working together around the horseshoe, as well as with our team here. You've worked hard to ensure that the city of Port Colborne has a strong identity. And I'll tell you something, although we may not hear enough from those that live inside the city of Port Colborne, and they may not recognize it, I hear it a lot from those that don't. I hear a lot of Port Colborne's identity from people that come from all over the world, especially when we have some of our major events. I hear it from them consistently on the strong identity that this small community has and that we offer not only our residents, but also our visitors that come here on a regular basis. So to each and every one of you, job well done. Be proud, hold your chin up. Hold your chin up high, because your contributions are making a difference. They really are. I want to thank the volunteers. And once again, those are the people that aren't trying to get elected. Those aren't the people that are trying to put more zeros at the end of their check. Those aren't the people that are trying to do something for themselves. They are in fact doing something for their community. They truly care. They truly care about their community, and they're working extremely hard to ensure that whether you live here in the city of Port Colborne or you don't, it will always, always feel like home. And as I often say, we always want to keep it, or we want to leave it better than the way we found it. And these folks are truly, truly working with us together as a community to, in fact, leave it better than the way we found it. And last, to my family, I want to take this opportunity to thank my wife, Lisa, my girls, Logan and Jordan, my extended family, my brothers, my sisters, their spouses, their kids, my parents. I want to thank them for allowing me an opportunity to do something that I love. And I have to say, although I've lived off a very, very hectic schedule, you were always there supporting me so much that I have to honestly say that my family has shared in the mayor's duties along my side on a daily basis. It wasn't just me. It was them as well. But I have to go back, and it's like I said to Noah earlier. And although my grandfather is no longer with us, my grandmother, on my dad's side, and my grandfather on my mom's side, but I have to say that that I have to express appreciation to them, and I want to recognize that, because it was also them and many folks. Rose Szymanski was another one that sat around this horseshoe many years ago, and friends, and people that have and still sit from the staff side. Although I think Ron's been here since I was in diapers. 40 some odd years, Ron, come on. But, you know, I remember as a kid running around here and them chasing me around like a little rugrat, telling me not to do this and that. And now here I am working here. But I have to thank you guys as well. Grandpa George, Grandma Florence, Grandpa Filiels, my parents, Rose, staff members, for really, really putting in my head, don't complain about it, do something about it. Just like little Noah did tonight. I'm actually afraid to tell him that because, like I said earlier, the youngster I told that to back in 1998 just beat me in an election. But having said that, nevertheless, it's all about sustainability, and hopefully he'll be the next in line. So again, I want to thank those folks for prompting me to to get involved as we prompt the next generation to get involved. And I want to thank them for that. So, now, enough about me. It's about our community. And as a community, we're now moving forward with new leadership. And the message I want folks to walk away with this evening, the takeaway, is let us all stand shoulder to shoulder, John Maloney, John Main, as well as the returning counselors, the volunteers, our staff, and not just here in the city of Port Colborne, but at the region and at other levels of government. Stand shoulder to shoulder with our new leadership to ensure that the city of Port Colborne continues to be a community where business and lifestyle are a perfect match. And that can only be accomplished when we all work together as one. And once again, the takeaway is take care of our beloved community. Take care of the community that we work so hard for. And keep promoting, progressing, and working hard. The passion, the dedication, and the commitment must continue. I'm confident it will. But as I said, take care of our beloved community. Work extremely hard to leave it better than the way you found it. I thank you. You know what? It doesn't get any easier. Okay, folks, let's get to work. I am going to go to Regional Councillor Barrick. Sends his regrets today. Anything that you need or want to ask about Regional Council, I will be more than happy to deal with. Nothing? Okay, move on to Councillors' requests, reports, and issues. Who's up? Councillor Kenny, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I want to add my thanks for your years as well, if I can get through this. First of all, from Joanne Faircholi, she wrote an email to Vance today and sent me a copy, and I just thought I would read it to you as well, or part of it anyway. It just says, through the fight for equitable health care, you have delivered the single most important component to our community. Trust in our ever-changing delivery of health care. You have gained the respect of our health care professionals and have sent a credible message to far greater levels of the transformation process. I cannot think of anything else that you could be more proud of accomplishing. Often maintaining levels of service are gone unnoticed, taken for granted, a thankless load to carry. The Port Colborne Medical Education Recruitment and Health Services Committee, as well as everyone who has had part in this healthcare journey, has noticed, and I thank you for the load you carried. She even writes, I can't believe how much medical knowledge and terminology you have gained, which is true. And as Vance said, she does a lot of the footwork for us, but she makes that committee workable, and really, Vance, thanks for all your work on that. But more important, for your leadership. I can remember one thing. It's funny of all that. I'm a wimp, so I cry a lot. But even though he says I'm a pit bull, I am a pit bull when you really, really push that button. But most of the time, in 1994, when Vance and I got on, he was a councillor, I guess he said, in Ward 4, and I was fighting for an issue regarding water. Now, Ward 4 guys don't care about water and their water rates and the water bill, because those guys have to import water. They gotta, their residents import water. So they say, so what, I gotta pay for a load of water. But I remember pushing for, I wanted a reserve of some kind. When they give us a report and tell us that we have a little bit over, I wanted a reserve. And the Ward 4 councillor, who really doesn't understand about water rates and water infrastructure and all that stuff, said, I understand what that councillor's after, and supported me. That was way back, and I always remember that. I thought, hey, that was pretty good. He understood what I was talking about. But really, I do thank you. And I'm not saying goodbye, neither to you or to Billy. Billy sits on this side for a reason, okay? He chose this side to be with the three.
Come to the light, baby.
Yeah, right. But Bill, we used to have, I'm going to switch just to Bill just for a second. We used to have these strategic planning sessions where we were giving these little dots, and there was a board up there, and you used to put what was your most important issue. And you would put your dot where you thought the most important and pressing issue for the community was. He stuck true to his word with building and wanting us to build the new, which we call Vail Health and Wellness. He pounded that every time we had a strategic, we had to listen for at least a half an hour to Bill telling us how important it was to replace the aging facilities that we had. But mysteriously, no matter where you put that dot, I think Bill went behind us and moved the dot, because there was always tons of dots on that particular thing. But that, he was thinking of not just now, he was thinking of the future for our community and how much a new facility would benefit us all, and it has. I hear people complain about the faults and stuff it has, but you know what? It's still a great facility and something that we can all be proud of for years to come. Like I said, I'm not saying goodbye to either one of you. You're going to stay involved. I know you are. Vance, I know you're going to continue on. I hope you will, and I hope council will support that with the physician recruitment, because you do a great job with that, and with our hydro as well. Big moves for us, and a great leadership that showed us all what we should be thinking, where we should be going, and you have placed this community first and foremost all the time. And I thank you for that. To both of you, we'll see you again. And Billy, as you told me, I know you'll be back.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Councillor Desmarais?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it does make me sad to say, Mr. Mayor, this final time. It really does. And I just wanted to repeat what I just told Bill. I believe in setting expectations. So I have an expectation for 2018, and I would expect that the people of the city of Port Colborne are going to be able to cast a vote in both of your directions at that time. So 4 years, go do what you've got to do. Start some new directions, if you will. I do hope the roads that you take are just lined with gold, but I expect you to be back here in 2018, because seriously, the city, it needs you. Simple as that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Desmarais. Councillor Botter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if I can do this sitting down, if I could. Thanks. Councillor Steele, we got on in, well, elected in 97, I guess, and started in 98, and we both sat on that side of the table, right? I was at the end, you were next, and you know, we had talked early on and said that we're not going to be here as caretakers, that we were going to move ahead and build things that were needed, repair things that were in need of repair, and you certainly have shown that you were true to your word right from the get-go. And certainly Bill has a passion for getting things done. And that passion in general was shown early on. And I can't remember what year it was, Billy, but we were sitting there and an irate citizen came to the podium over there. And I sat where Councillor Butters was, and Bill sat where Councillor Kenny was. And I'll just preface this by saying that both Bill's dad and my dad fought in the Second World War. So this gentleman was pretty upset, and I think it actually was a regional problem, but you know. But anyways, we got the brunt of it, and we're sitting there, and he's going on and on and on, and then he didn't like what we were doing, and he called us Nazis. Well, Bill was out of his seat. I grabbed a hold of his coattails. I didn't know whether to push him at the guy or hold him back, but I decided to hold him back. But it was just an example of, you know, being passionate. And Bill, it certainly was fortunate we had you on council all these years. You know, you really did some great work. I'm thrilled to have been working with you, and look forward in the future and what we might be able to work on again. So thank you for being here. Mr. Mayor. Just sit there and, you know. So, you know, I'm really glad that the mayor got his grounding in Ward 4 because it really shaped the person he was. You know, like there should be probably a rule that you got to, you know, serve in Ward 4 before you can go on. I'm just thinking that Councillor Butters, but and Councillor Kenny, we do care about water, really. Usually if it runs off our property onto somebody else's stuff, you know, that's good. So anyways, Mr. Mayor, it's no small feat to have served as many terms as you did. It would be easier if you were simply sitting there and, you know, nothing was going on, but you know, councils of the day and you in particular have championed different things. We've moved the city ahead, and that gets some people upset, and it makes sometimes a difficult thing at election time, but you held true. You went through many elections, and thank you for being there for us. You represented Port Colborne with dignity, passion, and when needed, some in-your-face action to certain people and organizations that needed a slap once in a while to veer them away from what they were doing, let's say. You took the hard jobs of the region. Mr. Heil reflected on a number of them. And I know at the region, it is a different animal, but you represented Port Colborne very well. There's a number of things that that we wouldn't have got without your leadership there. And I think all of Port Colborne needs to thank you for that. You know, whether it was, you know, keeping the police station, your work on transit, that is going to be ongoing. And somebody has to pick that up. That's a big deal for the city of Port Colborne. So we'll be pushing certainly our new mayor and our regional councillor to stand up for us on that. You know, we were sometimes opponents, but never enemies, and I thank you for that. We disagreed sometimes, but usually just because you were wrong. And, you know, the guy's a Philadelphia fan, right? I don't have to say anymore, right? You know, but, you know, certainly I think we agreed more times than not. Maybe not exactly in the direction we were going, but in the end result, there was no question. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the time you put in. I had a brief experience at that office down at the end. And, you know, there's lots of people in this building, but it can be lonely in that office because you're in there on your own, poring over reports. You're working late at night, and everything you were doing at the region, too. You had a job, a day job, you know, to support your family also that way. So thanks for that, and thanks for everything you did, and I look forward to working with you at some time in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Further comments, questions? I have Councillor Doucette and Councillor Butters. Councillor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Bill, I'd like to tell you what kind of person this guy is. He is one that will be honest with you, tell you the truth, and tell you where it's at. And it's as simple as that. But at the same time, he is probably one of the best friends you can have. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. There was one year where my knees were shot, just the last year that I ran before I had to take some time off and I had to have surgery. I was not able to do the canvassing the way it should have been done. Bill and his partner in Ward 1 decided to come and canvass with me, and they helped me. That's friendship. They came in, they canvassed in Ward 2 with me, they helped me out. I got back on council, and we kept on plugging away. Bill, I will miss you. But at the same time, you also have to do what is best for you, and I believe that's what you're doing. And you are not only honest with us, you're also honest with yourself. And I believe that that is one of the best qualities anyone can have. And I appreciated it through the years, and I will continue to appreciate it because we're going to be seeing each other. We're not saying bye. We're just saying, well, we won't be seeing you on Monday night, but we'll be seeing you around anyway. Thank you very much for everything you've done, because one of the things that I feel what was the center of anything that you did was to improve the quality of life in this city. And if we can take anything away from all this experience, is that Bill fought for quality of life in the city of Port Colborne, and we see it around us everywhere. That's critical. Thank you, Bill. Vance, I left in 2003, about the same time you did, because I had to go for my surgery and everything else. And every once in a while, I would see you around, especially at École Saint-Joseph, because your daughters were there. And I hadn't thought of coming back yet. I was still using a cane and everything else, and so on and so forth. And you know, when Mr. Heil mentioned the fact that he did things in the background, he really did. Because a couple of times he met me at Saint-Joseph, one of the first things he would often tell me is shake my hand and say, "You ready to come back yet? You ready to come back yet?" He was out there looking for people to create the team that he thought he needed to get what he needed for the city. And I can tell you right now that if there is anything that anyone said to me about Vance, the only thing I could always say about Vance is his heart is in the right place. His heart is in Port Colborne, and anything he does for Port Colborne. Not for anyone else, not for himself, not for any individual. He did it for Port Colborne. And everyone that spoke tonight has indicated that. He worried about quality of life as well. He worried about the senior citizen that had a major problem. He worried about the children. One of his best council meetings of every year was the year that they brought those cards out and the kids were here and the kids were singing and things like that. He always said that. He's a family man who worried about families in the city. And that is another quality that I think we can all take a good look at and say, that's what I want and that's who I want to represent me. Therefore, you too, I'm not saying bye. We'll be around. We'll be seeing each other. Because although we won't be seeing each other on Monday nights, we'll be around. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you.
Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Steele, if somebody would have told me 17 years ago, when we both got elected, that I would be very, very lucky to stand here today and say, Billy Steele's my friend. I would have probably told them, you have kind of rocks in your head. Because most of the time, through the first while, we kind of did a lot of this. And then we started to kind of find common ground, and one of the jokes was, we better mark that on the calendar because, holy crap, Butters and Steele have actually agreed on something. So, for me, I certainly concur with all my colleagues here of what a great job you've done for the city of Port Colborne. That just is a given. For me, in a personal sense, I'm really grateful for the friendship. That means the world to me. So I'm going to wish you well on all your endeavors. I know wherever the path goes, it's going to be wonderful because you're going to make it that way. So that's my hope and my wish for you. For Vance, everybody has said absolutely what I believe what you've given to the city of Port Colborne. We have had our disagreements. Fists have pounded desks. Bad words have been said. Nice words have been said later, like, gee, I didn't mean to be that mean. At the end of it all, we always came out of it with, I think, a better and a stronger relationship. And maybe that's because of honesty and lots of other good things. For me, I'm always going to hold near and dear to my heart the time you gave my family when my dad died. And that says to me the kind of person you are. And that's a really good person. So I'm going to wish you well. And I know things, as this door seems to close, really wonderful doors are going to open. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butters. Councillor Elliott, behave.
The greatest thing about being acknowledged by the mayor is for him not knowing what I'm going to say. I like that. And I'll start, and I'll be very brief. I'm going to quote you. We'd love to send you to Hawaii, but the photo's going to have to do. I'm surprised nobody else got that out. So I was sitting waiting, thinking, "Oh, please don't anybody use my line." You didn't show us those, right? As a rookie, as somebody that walked in with no experience, and everybody says that you'll face a learning curve, it's a learning cliff. To staff for the first 4 years, thank you. It's unbelievable what happens when you get elected and what you have to learn, and with staff's help, it's fantastic. But for the two gentlemen that are leaving, I have the utmost respect for somebody that puts their name out election after election, wants to serve the people of Port Colborne, obviously have their respect because they continue to vote for you and support you in your endeavors in what you thought was the best for this town. It was an unbelievable experience for me to sit on this council with you, to learn from you. And let's face it, Vance and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But I think the respect that we had for each other and the position that we held for each other, it never denigrated into anything other than a discussion around this chamber. And I think when you can do that, when you can have an open discussion with people on two sides and accept your position and their position for what they are, we're arguing for what we think helps this city grow and become better. And that's what it's all about, serving on city council. To sit with somebody that, I'll say, has more than a passion, and that word has been thrown around by a lot of my colleagues. It's more than a passion. It's ingrained in you. It's part of your DNA. And Bill the same way, and I'll speak with both of you, is that there is something in both of you that puts this city at the forefront, and you want to both see it grow and become the best thing that it can be. I've got a lot of people that ask me, because I didn't grow up here. My grandmother came to town about 100 years ago. My mother, my aunt, my uncle, both were born here, or all three were born and raised in Port Colborne, went to Port High. Have a lot of friends still in town. When I moved to town, it was like coming home. 121 Knoll Street was Grandma's house. Will always be Grandma's house. And my family's homestead. And people ask me, why do you want to live in Port Colborne? And they kind of chuckle when they ask. And I look everybody straight in the eye and say, why wouldn't I? To me, it's a great city where everybody knows your name, where you walk down the street and it takes you half an hour to go a block because you have to stop and talk to everybody. It's kind of like the sitcom Cheers, where everybody knows your name. It's actually true when you come to Port Colborne and you live here, and that's the best things. What I can say is, from all of us, you've made a contribution to the city that will be everlasting. For what you have done, for what you have done at this council, and for the three of us that started off 4 years ago, sure look a lot different than what that photo shows. Some of you for the better, one of us maybe not so much. But it really has been an experience that I wouldn't trade anything for. And I can know that specifically to both of you. Bill, you've stood up and you've put things forward that I was thinking one way, and by the end of your 10 or 15 minute rant, I thought, you know what? It actually makes sense in what you're talking about. And to listen to it, to you speak and speak passionately about issues, it's the same thing as the mayor. People don't understand it until they see it and work with it and represent with you, the people that live here, how passionate you are about this city. So with the utmost of respect, thank you for the past 4 years. It's been an absolute pleasure serving with you in this term of council, and all the best in whatever you do and wherever you end up.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Members of council, any further questions or comments? Well, Frank, I'll just take the cold. I'll just take the cold beer in about half an hour, Frank.
Did you hear the one about? Now, I really want to echo everything that's been said, and sometimes it's nice being last because you have to do less. But I truly have appreciated the 4 years I've spent. Vance and I were from the same neighborhood, but a few years apart, and we kind of knew each other as kids. Billy, it's always been a nice related issue, whether we were hacking at each other or maybe saying something in the box to each other, but certainly enjoyable. The staff, of course, is second to none, and we've made a few new friends over the last 4 years, and like the rest of you guys and ladies that are going to be up here, I'm looking forward to the next few years, and like to think I'm a little bit more knowledgeable than I was 4 years ago. That's a forgiven. So anyways, thank you all so much, and we're looking forward to you guys, and we'll see you again.
Thanks, Frank. Members of council, you may not have heard, but Bill and I have already reserved with Ashley to be a delegation at every council meeting. Just kidding. With that, thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate the comments. I know Bill, if you want to pipe in, Bill, as well. It's humbling. I lean over to Ashley, and I'm not one for kudos. I'm not one for compliments. I actually felt like kind of crawling under here and hiding while you guys were talking. I take criticism better than I do actually compliments. So I got. But no, it does. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure Bill does as well.
Just a quick comment, Vance. Two things quickly is, as president of minor hockey, I served with Frank's wife. She was our treasurer for a number of years before Frank ran. It was a lot better working with her, I'll tell you that. And secondly, I really take back all the bad things I said about Yvonne. Just kidding. Thank you very much for the comments.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so with that, any new business, guys? No new business. Members of staff, any updates, comments? Mr. Hanson.
Mayor Badaway and Council, a couple follow-up items from previous council meetings. We were advised last week that there might have been some lack of information in terms of the LED retrofit and some of the outages that councillors had expressed concerns over. So what I've done, and I've sent this earlier to you today, just to give you a heads up on this, I've prepared just a brief resume of where we are with the project itself now, and I can just briefly read through some of this for the purposes of being on the COGECO presentation. Since the award of the contract for the LED retrofit in August of this year to CRU Solutions, staff has met with the contractor and staff from CNP to discuss the logistics of the conversion program and the management of the transition period between the CNP maintenance operations for the street lights and the start of the conversion contract on December 1st of this year. It is estimated that the conversion of 2,000 fixtures will be completed by May 2015. The new fixtures have been ordered with the delivery date of 3 to 4 weeks. At the pre-construction meeting on October 16th, it was agreed that CNP would update the website asking the public to contact the city with outages for the transition period between October 16th and December 1st. And we're in that, obviously in that transition period at the present time. CNP has agreed to provide a list to the city of the outstanding outages that have been logged by their company, and we have that list. The outages prior to October 16th were to be repaired by CNP, and we are currently working on compiling a comprehensive list of all reported outages that are outstanding. There appears to be approximately 90 outages that are currently on our list that have been either brought in by staff or reported by council. And I think we know that in driving around the city at night, there's probably many more than 90 out there that are all going to be addressed during the current contract. The city website has been amended to advise that a contact person with email and phone contact will attend to those calls. Those repairs will be completed in one of two ways. The city has arranged for 50 LED units to be placed in stock and available for the CNP contractor to address the current outages up to 50 units prior to December 1st. And that contractor is currently working on those outages from our list. The work is currently underway. All other outstanding outages will be completed by CRU Solutions starting on December 1st. To address the ongoing calls from residents reporting a street light issue, CRU will be providing a website app that will be on portcolborne.com that will log all the calls coming in, either from the councilors, staff, or the residents, and immediately send a direction to CRU and their contractor for dealing with the outages. It's staff's intent to post this update on the city website for the information of the public and also to train other staff on the receipt of streetlight calls as the LED retrofit program begins. And Mayor Battle, I don't know if there's any questions regarding that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Members of council, Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You to Mr. Hanson. Mr. Hanson, it says that they're going to address the ongoing calls from residents. Is there going to be a time frame given to residents so that they know when they report a call, how long it actually is going to take before that light is fixed? Because I know sometimes there's a confusion. We've always waited till we had about 10 or so lights before anybody went out. So I just want to make sure that there's a way that the resident themselves knows what's going to happen after they put their call in.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hanson.
Through Mayor Badaway, yes, there's going to be a much better response once the transition period is over and we're up and running. Of course, council's been advised that there's a 10-year warranty on these LED units, where our expectations are there's going to be many fewer outages when the new system's in place, when the 2,000 LED units are in place. But with the new app on the website, it'll be logged and go directly to the contractor for immediate action on any outages. So we'll ensure from the staff side that those are addressed immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Danch.
I think you kind of answered it, but you're saying we're going to get about a 10-year lifespan out of these new lights so that people can kind of sit back for hopefully 8, 10 years and not have to worry about these outages?
Mr. Hanson.
Through Mayor Badaway, the warranty itself on the units is 10 years. The expectation is the units are going to last, of course, much longer than that. So with the full warranty, full replacement warranty, there'll be no cost to the municipality for the replacement of those units other than the cost for the subcontractor to go up and do that replacement. So they're going to last much longer than 10 years.
Okay. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Ron. So there will be an acknowledgement that the, I'm going to say, complaint has been lodged on the website, just so that any resident that puts on that they've got a light out, at least they're gonna know that somebody got it. It's been received.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it's going to be a priority for us. The CIO and I have had some discussions in the last week about this. We want to ensure that this app will also not only log the complaint, but give us the information we need to follow up and ensure that these are done in a timely manner, and that the resident calling in will be informed when the work will be done. That's a priority.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Further questions or comments, members? If none,
Okay.
Mr. Hanson.
Second item, follow-up to a statement. In respect to the council meeting of November the 10th, 2014, in particular, the question posed by Councillor Doucette regarding a time frame for repair of the roof at the Valet Center, I want to clarify what I said and what I meant at that during those discussions. I have reviewed the response that was made at the meeting, and what I said came across inappropriately, for which I apologize to Councillor Doucette and members of council. The repair of the roof involves all disciplines responsible for the design and construction of the building. We have not yet determined the source of the leak after extensive efforts by everyone that was involved with the project. In the past week, we've hired an independent roofing consultant to review the process and make recommendations for repairs to the roof. We cannot give a time frame yet until that determination is made from the evaluation that roofing consultant is going to do. What I meant to say in my comments, where Councillor Doucette doesn't really have to speak to this to the public, was in respect to the technical and design specifics that we were currently working on, and I think I said that inappropriately at the time. My statement perhaps was not phrased properly, and for that I apologize. We all recognize it is the business of the councillors to converse with all of the citizens and to bring their concerns or comments to the council table. It was never my intention to say otherwise, but simply to state that the roofing issue is being addressed by our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Questions or comments? Councillor Doucette.
Mr. Hanson, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further updates from members of staff? Mr. Hakeem.
Through your worship to members of council and the community, just two announcements with respect to the fact that we're not going to be having council meetings for a few more weeks. Just update on the Santa Claus Parade, December 6th, 6 p.m. And I just received information from the Colborne Historical Marine Museum, the Grand Old Christmas Festival on December 7th. Just wanted to announce those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hakeem. Mr. Heil.
Just a quick note, Your Worship, that the City of Port Colborne has a new float that we've been putting together in community services. You will recall that Algoma donated 3 very large lifeboats and a couple of smaller lifeboats. One of those lifeboats has wheels, and we're looking forward to all the members of council, including the new ones, to be up riding and enjoying SS Port Colborne.
A horse-drawn lifeboat. Members of staff, any further updates, council? Any further updates? Councillors, any further updates? Councillors Adams? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. I completely forgot. Everybody is fully aware that this Friday is Black Friday in the U.S., and it's obviously growing legs in Canada as well. Perfect opportunity if you're going to take advantage of the shopping that's going to be held. Shop local. I know that there's a strong presence and advertising campaign going on for downtown through the stores down here. If you can, and please do, give some consideration to the local merchants. They'd really love to see you on Black Friday. I know some of the stores are going to open at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Fantastic deals going on throughout downtown. I'm sure that Frank's going to get out of bed probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to get his store ready to go.
You won't be going to bed.
Maybe you'd be up by the crack of noon. But if and whenever you can, always consider shopping local first. It really helps out your friends and neighbors.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Members of council. You have to respond, Frank. I get that. Go ahead.
We open at 8. That's all there is to it. I do have one issue I want to bring up, and I've already talked to Ron about this, and I know I'm gonna get shot down here, but I had a gentleman on Barrack Road, had a little issue on a Sunday evening with a water line. Water line was leaking in his basement, had to call out City Works, and it took the guy about 20 minutes. And it was a connection before the meter, and there's nothing he could do. He's down with a shop vac. He's trying hard to save his basement from a flood, and so what does he do? He calls City Works, and they show up, and they were kind enough to send him that piece of paper that says, you owe us $378. And it's not so much, I mean, I guess maybe it is, the 20 minutes that it took the guy to shut it down, to correct the connection, to turn his water back on, and then leave. And one of the points he made to me, and I kind of got to agree with him, is if you had a power outage in your home or a power problem, you go up to your main breaker and you shut it off. You've killed the power. If you have a problem with your gas, you go outside, and maybe you're not supposed to, but you can shut off your gas. You're hung. You can't do nothing about your water because that line comes into your home and to your meter, and you're stuck. And you're at the city's will to come and shut you down. And I know this guy's on call. Unfortunately, it was Sunday and everything else, but I just find that $378 to shut a guy's water off for a short time. And Ron has explained to me, and he's actually been kind enough to give me a whole list of all the city's charges and even put in a highlighter for me in case I didn't understand where to look. But I really think that that's a lot of money to be paying out for 20 minutes. You know, like I mean, and probably gonna happen to me tonight. Like last night, my alarm went off at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got a phone call. I wasn't too happy about it, but guess what? I got up, and this stupid thing here, I look at my cameras and go back to bed, and all was well. I just find that to be a lot of money, and I just wonder if maybe we could see a little bit of consideration here and say, and this guy's, he's not saying that I don't want to pay it. He's just saying, could I pay a little bit less? So I'm going to throw a number like, let's say $200, right? We went to his house, we did what we had to do. The guy went out. I mean, we don't want people going out with street keys and doing things under the table because that's not what we want to do in the city. But I would just wonder if maybe we could see a little consideration here and maybe drop this, charge down to like the $200 mark, and maybe the city's going to eat a little bit. But, that guy was only there for 20 minutes, and I'm just going to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Danch. Mr. Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Danch. I had the opportunity to meet with this ratepayer in my office last week, and he's very forthcoming, and had a good discussion about the incident. It was sort of a perfect storm for him because he had a shut-off in his house, and the line actually broke where it came through the wall before his shut-off. There was no way to shut the water off. It happened on a Sunday night. If this call would have come in on any weekday during regular working hours, the charge is $56. Several years ago, council directed that staff come through with public works rates and fees that reflected what the actual costs were. So if you have a call out of a water technician on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's a 4-hour call out. On a Sunday night, there was overtime involved. He had a city truck. So the charge that went to this gentleman actually is pretty reflective of what it might have cost to get this fellow out there. We have to pay him for 4 hours, plus overtime charges, plus the value of the truck that he takes out. So it's not $56 when this is involved with it. If it's a sewer rotting, it's 2 guys with all the equipment and so on. It's much more than that. So a few years back, if you look back, we had charged like $100, $150, and they didn't reflect really what it was costing the city to address these issues, these services that we provide. So each year in January, we bring forward this bylaw that Councillor Danch has got there, and it has all the rates on it. We increase it nominally each year with the construction cost index, and it's pretty reflective of what these charges are. I informed the resident that no staff member, including the CO, has the discretion to actually reduce any of these rates. They're approved by bylaw and directed by council, so suggest to them that it has to be at this table where any adjustments might be made to it.
Okay, guys, $200. Guys are willing to pay it. I mean, $378. That's huge. mean, I really feel that it's a lot more than needs to be charged, and you almost think about that water line that goes into everybody's house, even you people in Ward 4, that can shut down your pumps whenever you need to. Maybe we should start something in the city's building idea where we get a shut off inside the home, and if it's before the meter, we know we can do wrong things, but of course we don't want to suggest that. My own home, my line comes in, I had to change mine a few years ago. It was one of those leaky lines in the city. Had to be all high and dug. It was December. The line got fixed. The line comes into my home. There's a shut off there. I can shut it off. The meter's 5 feet above it. If I was a wrongdoing person, I could put a bypass into my pool or something. I don't do that. I'm not recommending we do that. I'm just thinking that maybe we could give this guy a bit of a break and possibly not even split the difference. $200. It's still, it's Christmas, guys. Come on.
Okay, so Councillor Danch, leave of council, first off.
I'd like to make a leave of council that we go ahead and charge this guy $200 and give him a little bit of a break here.
Okay, so we have leave. Seconder, please. Councillor Kenny. Questions or comments? All those in favor for leave? Opposed? Carried. We have a motion to basically a charge of $200 to this fellow from the charge that he received. Do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Doucette. Questions or comments to that? Councillor Bodnar.
Geez, you got to feel like the Grinch at Christmas. Thanks for bringing that up, Frank. But you know, we set these rates. You know, we ask staff to come back with what is reasonable, and I believe by law, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, or staff, that we cannot charge more than what it is worth to do the job. So staff diligently figure out what a rate is to do something like this. You know, it's unfortunate it happened on a Sunday night or a weekend, but you know, I don't know if we're going to stand up and try to reduce things every time, you know, we have a set fee. We're going to have requests all over the place. So I applaud Councillor Dance for bringing that forward for the gentleman, but I won't be able to support the $200. I think we got to stick with what the fee is.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Doucette.
I applaud Councillor Danch for bringing it to us as well, but just like everything else that we've been discussing, especially in the past, I'd say month and a half, because we've had a few others come to us and say, well, isn't that a little bit too expensive? It is the cost to the corporation. It is what we pay to get the individual out there. The 20 minutes on site is not the 20 minutes that it costs the city. And that's what's important here. And like some of the other councilors, I'm sure some of the other ones are going to say the same thing. I believe we need to make sure that we recover our costs. Otherwise, we're going to go backwards instead of forwards. I can't support the $200. The $300 and whatever it was is the cost to the city, and that's the cost that the individual would have to pay.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kenny.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just threw you to Ron. You said something about a truck. What does the truck cost?
Mr. Hanson.
If he's going to the job, what you said you added the cost of the truck besides his 4 hours overtime that you have to pay?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The rates that are set in the bylaw are actually set out as a flat rate now, because when we created these rates, we put together what a 4-hour call would be with overtime and so on, and built in the current rates that we're looking at in terms of the use of the vehicle itself. But it's not actually on his bill. His bill is actually a flat rate bill of the $378. So it's not built into whatever the current rate is for the truck. It simply reflects the hours for 2014 and the rental rate, what it would be, which isn't really indicative of the actual cost of the truck. It's probably much more than that on the replacement cost.
Okay, with that, I guess that's what I'm questioning. It's not so much the rate. I totally understand if you got to send somebody out and it's on Sunday and that's what they get paid, because that's what the union contract says, so they get paid their time and a half. That's what they get paid, their time and a half. I mean, it's like that for anywhere, any corporation, that's what the union negotiates for overtime or Sundays or being called in. However, is there a way this individual that's charged this can pay this in 4 installments to make it easier on them with no interest? No interest? Is that possible that that can be done? Because
Mr. Sinez?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kenny, yes. At council's will, we do have a bylaw where we do charge interest after 30 days. But again, if that's council's decision to waive the interest to provide that extended payment plan, then we can do that also.
I could do that. I really cannot, as much as, you know, I sympathize with the taxpayer when this happened on a Sunday. I would like to suggest that we do waive the interest charges and work out a plan that he can pay that in 4 installments or 5 installments, whichever is the best for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments, members?
Oh, I can't keep quiet.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. And I do agree with what the majority of councillors have said with regards to what Frank has brought up. These are set, you know, you do one, you have to do them all. However, it is our cost, and we try to be cost effective as far as not costing more and more in taxes. So you lose it in one area, you got to bring it up in another, which is usually on your tax roll. However, it goes back to what I've said for years. If we were like every other utility out there and we owned to the water meter, it wouldn't have cost the homeowner a dime. No different than your cable, your gas, or your hydro. It breaks at your house, they come and fix it. There's no charge to you. Anything inside is your problem. We all know that the connection's on the inside with the water meter. But I go back, so maybe to the new council. I think if you change the way we do business as far as water goes, I think it'll take care of a lot of leaks that we have in the city and where water is unknownly disappearing. I think a lot is through these small lines that go in from the street to the house. If we take ownership, we can get in there and fix this stuff. I know it's costly, but I think in the long run it'll save us money. That's the only way I can say to get rid of these costs. Yes, during the day, in the middle of the week, if it happens, our guy's working there, the trucks are moving, he's out, it costs very little. But if he'd have called a plumber that night, I'd like to see what that would have cost. It's probably more than what we would charge, I would think. You call a plumber out in the middle of the night, or I don't want to say in the middle of the night, but late at night. So I do sympathize, but I can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Demering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've brought several of these kinds of issues forward in the last 4 years and have not yet been successful getting one through. So I can relate to where you're standing with this, Councillor Danch. But I would agree with Councillor Kenny that if we could forego the interest and work out a payment plan, that should work out well. And I would also be willing to look in the term of the next council. I would really be willing to look at ways that we can lower these costs, because $92 an hour is absolutely ridiculous. I think there has to be ways to bring the costs down, and we need to look for them. Whether it be negotiating contracts differently, I don't know, but whatever it is, we need to look for ways to reduce these costs, because bringing this to the taxpayer is just too hard for people to bear. And possibly we can do what Councillor Steele is mentioning too. And look at the way we charge to the meter. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question, Ron. With respect to the costs, how much are we charging for the truck and how much are we charging for the man in time and a half? It's a 4-hour minimum too?
I don't have the fees in front of me for the truck. I don't know specifically which truck he took. We could certainly look at that, but it's double time on a Sunday night,
right.
And it's a 4-hour call out. So the fees are very reflective of what our costs are.
Okay.
And I could just add, I guess, that with it being almost January, this report will be coming forward to either the next meeting of council or the first one in January with the new rates. So it'll be timely to probably look at those rates right. As they are on that schedule.
Good, thank you. And just a word of caution for the next council. You know, you have an asset management plan that you're going to be entertaining. You're going to have a financing strategy attached to that asset management plan. You know, you keep throwing pennies out, those dollars are going to dwindle, and the assets that you're going to have to, like trucks, like vehicles, that you're going to have to replace over time, you want to ensure that that money is available for those assets, and hence the reason why these rates are struck. So you want to be very careful. It's a business, guys, you know, and we all have to operate our business with that kind of frugality, or else you don't last very long. So, with that, Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in regards to Councillor Kenny's request to drop the interest, through you to Mr. Sinnes. Peter, does staff try to, in certain situations, does staff try to work with residents on their own to work out some payment plan? Is this necessary to officially get this from council, or does staff sometimes negotiate with residents on how they may make payment if they can't do it?
Mr. Sinez.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff do work with our customers. Like if there's a situation that they may have that they request to pay over maybe 2 months or so on, we do make those. Most of it is like, for example, water, but there's already interest that's been added to the water. But once the whole amount is there, then we'll work with them to make the payment. But for the most part, we're able to work with them and decide. And normally it's not over a long period of time. And if it is over a long period of time, and there has to be a lot of interest waived, then basically we have to bring it to council to actually do that.
Thank you. Okay. So, members of council, no further comments or questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor of the recommendation? Opposed? Councillor Kenny. It's lost. Councillor Kenny.
I guess I would just move then that the charges that have been for this individual be work with staff, and hopefully they can do it over a period of time and there is no interest. I would ask that no interest be charged while the individual pays off this amount of money.
Okay. Have a second
However
to
that
that?
works out.
Councillor Danch. Questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to the adoption of the minutes. I do have a set of minutes here of the 24th meeting regular of Committee of the Whole, dated November 10th, 2014. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bodnar, Councillor Elliott. Are there any questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Consideration of items requiring separate discussion. We're going to start off with Councillor Doucette, item 1.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Whereas seniors living in our community have indicated to councillors and elected officials that they have limited ability to pay property taxes, forcing them to consider selling their homes, and whereas many seniors live on a fixed income and often live at the poverty level once retired, and whereas it is desirable and cost-effective to individuals and their communities for seniors to continue living in their homes for as long as possible. Now, therefore, the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne resolve as follows. 1, that the Government of Ontario be requested to develop a new system of calculating property taxes, which, in addition to assessed property value, take age and income into consideration so that seniors pay less in property taxes than the average working individual. 2, that this resolution be forwarded to Premier of Ontario, the Premier of Ontario, the Ontario Minister of Finance, local members of Provincial Parliament, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Region of Niagara, and local area municipalities for support.
Thank you, Councillor Doucette. Have a seconder to that, please. Councillor Steele. Questions or comments? Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In canvassing for elections this year, I found that there were many, many, many more senior citizens, people preparing to retire, that were telling me that they would have to sell their homes. The taxes were too high. The other rates, a lot of the other rates were too high. There has to be a way that we, here in the province of Ontario, that we recognize what senior citizens have done for us. And this may be one way of doing that. I don't know what the answer is, and the idea behind bringing this motion on the floor is to get a discussion going. Let's send it out to everybody. Let's start having everyone talk about it. Let's see if there is something they can do or anyone else can do. But if we don't bring it up, we don't start discussing it, we will never get it done. And I feel that this is a way of beginning the process of somehow being able to recognize our seniors that have given us and give this city everything that we have at this time. And because of them, we live the way we live. They are the ones, they were the predecessors for us. They've allowed us to continue to live in the way we do, in a prosperous fashion. And I believe that we need to at least start the discussion, and this is what this motion does.
Thank you, Councillor. Further comments or questions? Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also be supporting Councillor Councillor Doucette's motion. And for the main reason is that we have a housing crunch, and there is not a lot of affordable housing out there. Matter of fact, there's no affordable housing out there right now for seniors to move into easily. So we have to be finding ways to keep them in their homes, allow them to stay there safely until there is an opportunity for them to move on if they want to. But we shouldn't be setting systems up to force people out of their homes. So I will support this motion and hope that the discussion does get opened at those upper levels and that solutions are found.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments, members? With none, all those in, Peter, did you want to make any comments? Quick question. With respect to the income, is there a method or a mechanism that we can actually look at that we can recognize a lot of that as well? Or is that beyond us?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is beyond us. The only thing that's in the act is through when there's a tax sale process as to, I forget the actual wording of it, but if they're in sort of a poverty situation type of thing, that's the only thing that's in the act at this point.
Okay. Okay. And the reason why I ask is because it would be advantageous for it not to be tossed at the upper levels of government and falling into that big black hole and then forgotten about. It'd be nice that if we can go down there with some solutions and possibly they can then consider actually what we're recommending versus tossing it at them and waiting for them to do it. But that's why I asked the question if we can recognize some of the income related information so we can weigh then what would the shift be. So let's face it, the money's got to be picked up somewhere, right? And then how it would be picked up, and maybe some other creative solutions, like, for example, I know reverse mortgaging. If the municipality would want to get in something like that, at least at the very least, they'd be able to keep their house, and at the same time, the equity in their house can be used to offset some of the increases in assessment. Things like that. And I'm just thinking out loud right now, but it'd be a lot better if the next council can actually go with some specific recommendations versus just simply tossing it at the province or the feds and saying, you do it, because you know just as well as I do, they won't. It'll just fall in that black hole, and you might hear from them 2 or 3 years down the road, if you hear back from them at all, besides getting a standard "thank you very much" letter. So, Peter?
Just the other thing is, like, I know a lot of the rebates and that has come down the pipe from the province and into the municipal act and all that is at the regional level, where like all of the heritage rebates, vacancy rebates, charity rebates, all those have resignated and are administered through the regional bylaws, and maybe something to look at on a regional basis from whether it's at our area treasurers meetings or the area CAOs meetings that they're talked about as to whether or not as a whole can be brought forward to the province and discussed maybe at our level collectively, and then see if there's ways that we can bring something forward to the province, because that's where ultimately the direction has to come down through the province to the municipal act to give us the powers to do that.
And just on that, what I would suggest is follow it up. Don't just Councillor Doucette, toss it at them and forget about it. Follow it up and stay on them with continual letters. What are you doing? Can I hear back from you? Is there any tools or mechanisms or levers that you can give us? Just stay on them. Or else, again, it's just going to fall in that black hole.
And this motion is going to the region and to the local municipalities, so follow up there.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Sinez. Mr. Howe?
Your Worship, the only thing I was going to make a note of, in the tax structure in Ontario that was created in 1998, simple fact is, and we take it down very simple, two places side by side. One is the seniors and one is not. If they both paid $2,000 tax and the seniors were given a reduction to $1,800, the other property would pay $2,200. It just shifts it. That's the current system in Ontario right now. And that would have to be resolved somehow for this to work properly.
Thank you. Further questions or comments, members? All those in favor? Opposed? That'll be carried. Thank you. All the rest of the items were passed, but I did want to ask Mr. Och to touch on item 2 with respect to the Department of Planning and Development Services 2014-85, and that's to recommend a consultant for the completion of the Port Colborne Rail on Apron, the feasibility study, and the business case. Evan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We issued an RFP after we had sought permission from council to embark on this project. Issued an RFP. It was released. It was requested by, I believe, 13 or 15 consulting companies. At the end of the day, we only received one response. However, we were very happy with the response that we received. It came from a company that is a Canadian-based but internationally focused company that works primarily in rail transportation, rail infrastructure, and it's partnered with a company that is run, a consulting firm that is run by actually a member of the board of directors of the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation, which was a company that was recommended to us by Quebec stevedoring, which is a stevedoring company that operates in Port Colborne. So we are very happy with the quality of the document that we returned, that was returned to the city. It was reviewed by city staff. It was reviewed by members of the private sector. It was reviewed by members of the provincial government staff, and we all thought very highly of the documents. So even though only one was returned, by no means is this a lousy proposal that we're just going with by default. It's a very strong proposal that comes in at budget.
Great, thank you, Evan. And just for those folks watching on COGECO, with respect to not only this report, but also what we're hoping this is going to lead to, is with respect to the City of Port Colborne's economic development strategy, an action plan going back to 2010 to 2014, whereby it identifies multimodal logistics as one of the economic pillars for the City of Port Colborne. The strategy identifies a number of local businesses that directly rely on multimodal logistics, and it identifies extension of rail servicing on the Port Colborne Harbor Railway directly to port and dock facilities. Specifically, to support the extension of rail services from the Valet line, the Valet Inco line, site to Transport Canada, Snyder Terminal lands, which is over on the east side lands, as a recommended initiative to strengthen, and this is key, guys, to strengthen intermodal connections to the city. Completion, and this is the hope here, completion of this study will demonstrate to existing businesses and potential investors to the city that we are committed to Port Colborne's position as one of 3 major ports in southern Ontario. The council will recognize that we are working with some partners right now, some potential partners, one in particular, a new company that's looking at the City of Port Colborne as a destination. And quite frankly, not only are we being looked at as a major port in southern Ontario, but quite frankly, we're becoming more and more recognized as an international major port, including the United States, between Cleveland, Detroit, and of course, Canada. And we're being the ones that are being targeted for the Canada port to work alongside and in tandem with other ports like Cleveland and Detroit. So this study, although it might seem minor now in nature, is major with respect to future investments in not only the infrastructure, but also, because of the infrastructure is going to be put in place, future investments by business. to utilize the assets and the strengths that we have here in the city of Port Colborne. So stay tuned. Evan, thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, just a further comment related to this. I was at the Highway H2O conference last week in Toronto, put on by the St. Lawrence Seaway Management Corporation and the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation, the operators of the St. Lawrence Seaway. And we received a award recognizing the city of Port Colborne for its continued support of the Highway H2O initiative by both the Development Corporation and the Management Corporation. We were the only municipality on the Great Lakes that received this award out of the hundreds of municipalities, I imagine, that have frontage onto one of the Great Lakes. We were the only municipality that received this award. So certainly our support of the marine industry is being recognized internationally.
Great, thank you, Evan. Councillor Elliott.
Just really one quick question, Mr. Mayor, through you, and I'll direct it to you, is this project that we're having the study done on, is that the project that the region has set aside?
Yes.
The money, and that money is still in a reserve fund?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So
I
we
just
had,
want to make sure.
we had back about 3 years ago, in working in tandem with what we're doing here locally, I've been pushing from the transportation side at the region to have some infrastructure dollars put aside for us to contribute to that overall project, because as you know, the overall project's a $1.6 million cost. With that said, the region was kind enough and generous enough to put $350,000 aside for us for the capital contribution. But of course, there's also going to be an expectation that the private sector, the city, and hopefully other levels of government will contribute to it as well. Hopefully other levels of government, the private sector, and therefore not having to be the city, because they'll meet the 1.6 million. Mr. Howe, you have some comment? You're good?
I have no further comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howe. Any further questions or comments on that? Okay, it already has been passed, but I wanted Evan to highlight that, especially in the interest of the project itself. So, with that, and no other business being needed to be discussed, we'll now go on to notices of motion. With no notices of motion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this component of tonight's agenda. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Doucette, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. With that, we'll now move on to the council portion of tonight's agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, none this evening.
Thank you, Ashley. Members of council, motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Bodner, Councillor Elliott, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Disclosures of interest. With none, I'll move on to the adoption of the minutes. I do have 2 sets of minutes. If you don't mind, I'll do them in block. I have the minutes of the 32nd meeting special council, November 10th, 2014, and finally the minutes of the 33rd meeting regular of council, dated November 10th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Danch, Councillor Butters, questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Are there any items requiring separate discussion? With none, I'll entertain a motion to accept all the items. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Kenny, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll skip it on to minutes of boards, commissions, and committees. I have 3 sets. If you don't mind, I'll do them in block as well. I have the first set of minutes of the Port Colborne Public Library Board meeting dated October 14th, 2014. The second being the minutes of the Port Colborne Historical and Marine Museum Board of Management meeting of September 16th, 2014. Yes, 16th, 2014, and October 21st, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Butters. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Notices of motion? Any notices of motion? With none, Madam Clerk, the introduction of the bylaws, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaws be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 615412014 being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement with CPCS Transcom Limited for the completion of the Port Colborne Rail on Apron feasibility study and business case. Bylaw 615512114 being a bylaw to appoint specific officers of Blue Knight Security as municipal law enforcement officers.
Thank you, Ashley. Members of council, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Demaray. Questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Madam Clerk, the confirmatory bylaw, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaw be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 6156-12214 being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at its regular meeting of November 24th, 2014.
Thank you, Ashley. Members of council, confirmatory bylaw, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Demaray. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Before I do ask for adjournment of this meeting, I will announce that the next meeting will be a special meeting of council that I have called for the new council to get orientated. I won't be attending that meeting. I didn't think it would be necessary, nor would it be, well, I think the last thing John and company want is me hanging around, so I figured I'd call the meeting. I'm going to leave it to the Deputy Mayor, to Ron's. Ron's going to be chairing that meeting. And of course, it'll give an opportunity for members of council, and particularly the new members of council, Mr. Main and Mr. Maloney, to start the process of getting back to work with the new council. That is going to be dated November 28th here in the chamber at 9 o'clock, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, okay, well, that's up to you guys. But once again, for the public's knowledge, open meeting, special meeting of council, orientation, November 28th, which is this Friday, I believe. And it's beginning at 9 a.m. Following that, council will be holding its inaugural meeting here in the chamber on December 1st, 2014. That inaugural meeting will start at 7 o'clock, and by all means, anybody and everybody that wants to come, show up. Yeah, well, I'm sure I will be tomorrow. her and Ashley. But in all seriousness, that inaugural meeting will be taking place on December 1st, and I offer my best wishes to the new council, starting off with that meeting. Following that, there will be a meeting of business, Committee of the Whole, Council on December 15th, 2014, once again here in the chamber, beginning here at 6:30 p.m. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Steele, seconded by Councillor Danch. Are there any questions or comments? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Have a wonderful week. Adjourn.